Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about another element number 98, Californium, which is in fact named after California because it was discovered in the University of California, Berkeley. Um, it is a rather unique element because it's a high up man-made element that is actually useful for industry. The two elements that come before it are not really used for much, and none of the elements that come after it are used for anything other than research purposes. So it is very unique in that regard. Um, it is created artificially by taking other elements and bombarding their nucleus with a bunch of neutrons, and the neutrons will hit the nucleus of the other element, and sometimes it will create another proton, and when the number of protons goes up, a new element gets created, in this case, Californium. That's how it's created in a very brief nutshell. So, this stuff is used in all sorts of industries. And the useful isotope, which means the number of neutrons in the nucleus, um, the useful isotope is Californium 252. And it is useful because it is a great source of neutrons. This element releases tons of neutrons through radioactive decay. And it only has a half-life of a little over 2.5 years. Half-life refers to the amount of time it takes until only half of the original material is left because of radioactive decay. So in this case, if you have a pound of californium in a little over 2.6 years, you only have half a pound of californium, because of radioactive decay, which does create other elements, but it won't be californium anymore. So it is rather unstable. The most stable isotope, which is not used in industry really, is californium 251, which has a half-life of almost 900 years, which is still relatively short when we speak about elements and how stable they are. So, what is it used for? It's used for tons of things. It's used for prospecting. It's used to monitor the quality of rocks and cement. It's used to inspect large engines and turbines. It's used to start up nuclear reactors. It's also used for cancer treatment too. So it is very useful. And the reason it's so useful is because the element itself emits tons of neutrons. It's a great source of neutrons. So the neutrons flowing out of the element allow it to detect things. So if you're like trying to see what's inside of a briefcase, Californium can give you a good idea of what's inside based on how the neutrons from the element react. And that's why it's good for monitoring rocks too and prospecting. And that source of neutrons is important for starting up a nuclear reactor because you need a lot of neutrons to start a nuclear chain reaction. So that's why it's used for starting up nuclear reactors. And the neutrons are also used in cancer treatment for like something like brain cancers, what californium is often used for, because the neutrons will be used to target cancer cells and destroy them. So it's useful in that way too. So, how expensive is this stuff? Um, in regular everyday use, it doesn't cost too much to get your hands on the necessary amount of californium. You probably only need a few micrograms of the stuff, which only costs about $10 per microgram. So it's reasonable in that sense to buy it. However, if you were to produce a gram of this stuff, and many grams of californium have been produced in history so far, that would cost way more. If you just went off of a microgram costing around $10, then a full gram would cost $10 million. However, to straight up mass produce an actual gram of californium and to charge it at a price where you could make profit, you would probably be looking at closer to $30 million per gram, or even more. It's hard to say for certain, but it is very expensive. As a matter of fact, it's the most expensive material in the world that's actually used in industry. There might be more expensive things to produce, like antimatter or other man made elements higher up on the periodic table, but those things aren't actually useful in any way right now. They're not used in industry. So, as far as actual materials that are useful go, Californium is the most expensive, which is why it is in fact such a unique element. It has other properties, like it oxidizes and it can form some chemical compounds that we know of. But of course, the most notable thing about it is how insanely radioactive is it is. Those neutrons it emits, that's a form of radiation, and it is extremely deadly. Um, just a milligram of this stuff, being around a milligram of californium, would seriously harm you, and it would definitely be able to kill you without much trouble at all. So this stuff needs to be taken care of in a very serious manner, especially when they separate it and um, ship it off to different areas. So yeah, it is very dangerous. It also might be created in supernova explosions. There's none of it on the Earth, but we believe that when stars explode, they do create heavier elements that we don't encounter on Earth, such as californium. It doesn't exist on our planet because of its short half life. Even the most stable isotopes would be completely gone by now. There wouldn't be any of it left. So that is why we don't find it in nature. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about Californium, and I'll see you around.